Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the Telltale Games podcast. My name is Dennis Zen, and I'm here with...
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Dorian.
And we also have a special guest with us, Mari Takahashi from Smosh Games, Smosh in general proper. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm stoked.
Yeah, and a lot of people know Smosh is a huge YouTube channel. You guys have also the Smosh Games. You have a Smoshcast. Can you tell us a little bit more? I mean, most of the people probably listening and watching are familiar with you guys, but can you tell us a little bit more about Smosh and Smosh Games?
Sure, yeah. I feel like when I got to be a part of Smosh, it was in 2010, and it was already this tycoon as far as a YouTube channel goes. And from there, we've been continuously growing our family, and we just have so many shows and so many ideas that we just get to kind of throw on a wall and see what sticks. And it's been an amazing ride. At the moment, like you said, we have a podcast, and for the first time in Smosh history, we're kind of able to pull back that curtain. And I say the first time in Smosh history because it's the first time that we're kind of not under like a corporate structure. Right. I'm not sure if everyone listening has any news about Defy Media, but we were under Defy Media for a long time, and we didn't have... We started to lose more and more creative control. And so we're kind of at this time where we're a little bit more scrappy and it's a little bit more punk rock. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was a podcast so that we can talk a little bit more just frankly and have, this kind of demeanor as opposed to being like wild, crazy kids making videos, because we all know that it's not always like that. And it was really important for us to be able to communicate that to our audience. Yeah,
before we started this podcast, I was talking to you that I actually knew some of the people that you knew that worked at Smosh, just because I used to work at Clever a long, long time ago. And yeah, I am familiar with all the stuff that happened with Defy and whatnot. But it's cool because I saw one of the videos you guys have on your channel was like a behind the scenes after you guys moved into a new studio and showing off the different parts. And so it's I guess what you guys are doing, but now you guys have more control and direction over where you guys are going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. We were acquired by Mythical Entertainment, and they are homegrown. I mean, they're content creators and YouTubers who really understand the industry as opposed to suits who come in thinking that they know about the industry. And so it's just been this really like... I don't know, Phoenix rising from the ashes sort of feeling. And it's just, it's been really amazing to go on that ride and having not just our audience, but people in the industry really having our backs and kind of cheering for us at the same time.
Now, about yourself, how did you get into games? Like, what was the first system that you played on? Because I'm an older guy, so like for me, like I played on the Atari 2600 and all that stuff.
Our household definitely had an Atari.
Okay.
I don't remember playing on it. We had a Famicom from Japan.
Okay, yeah. He doesn't know what that is.
Yeah,
I know what that is. He doesn't know what a Famicom is.
I don't have memories of playing on it, but I know we had that system. The first system that I feel like was my system was the Genesis.
Okay.
And I think it very much... I have an older brother. He's 10 years older than I am, so he was always playing video games. But I was just kind of hovering around. But the Genesis was the first system that I was like, this is mine.
That was the first system I went die hard into. Like I'd played the NES and I played all the other things at that time, but Genesis was like the first one I was like, I'm a hardcore, like nowadays it's like, yeah, there's the Xbox diehards and there's the PS4 fanboys and they all battle it out, and it's, to me nowadays, that kind of console war is kind of silly now.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, you like lived by it.
For sure.
Yeah, it was like, if you're a Sega person, you're a Nintendo person, like you guys can't be friends.
That's right, because most households wouldn't have the audacity to have more than one console. Our household was the Genesis household. My neighbor, who became my best friend, had the SNES, and so he became like a diehard SNES guy or a Nintendo guy. And that console war just kind of naturally happened because of just the system that you happen to have in your household. pretty wild.
Yeah. When you joined Smosh, was it under the the comedy sketches first? Okay.
Yeah. The first thing that I did with Smosh was a Pokemon Revenge theme song video. It was a sketch comedy, or it was actually like a musical parody, and they needed somebody who spoke Japanese. And I was perusing a website that is basically the Craigslist for entertainers.
Oh, dope.
It's called SF Casting, which is the equivalency of LA Casting, which we have over here. So, like if you're in any type of entertainment, you look for any sort of like gigs that you could pick up. And I have done everything from being a magician's assistant to showing up to birthday parties in a ballerina tutu outfit for $20. It's like it was just so random, the gigs that I would pick up, and Smosh was one of those things. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, nor did I have any expectations of where it would go. But I was on set with them for that particular video. I did my lines in Japanese, and we got along well enough that they're like, hey, do you want to come back for more stuff? Me, in my mindset, I'm like, I have another career. And that career was being a professional ballerina.
Oh, wow.
And so this is a career I have strived for my entire life. There is no veering off of it because of the amount of time and energy, sweat and tears that have gone into it. And so I'm like, sure, why not? It's a side gig. This isn't going to become anything else. And then, 9 years later, here I am.
Are you still trying to pursue your ballerina goals?
No, that's a definite chapter that I was able to close. I had a full career by the time I retired and shifted fully to YouTube. I danced with the Oakland Ballet Company, which is this prestigious Bay Area company, for almost a decade.
I think you might have mentioned that because I used to. It's so it's pretty cool being here interviewing you because I used to be I'm still a Smosh fan, but I used to be a huge fan growing up watching you guys. So and I think you would always end up winning whenever y'all did the dance battles or anything like that. You always ended up winning. So it's cool to actually be here talking to you right now. But yeah, with that, since you've been in this career so long, with Smosh, can you just talk about how from your perspective how the digital landscape has changed and how how this has become more prominent in this field right now?
For sure. When I started YouTube and YouTube as a career was not a thing. And neither was it a household sort of conversation or thing that people would even discuss. And now, I have two nephews who are 7 and 10 years old, and all they want to do is become a YouTuber. And that's a job title that they strive for. And it's wild what's happened in the past 10 years. Not even. I would say maybe in the past 8 years that now kids and people are like, oh no, I'm going to not go to school and do this, or I'm going to stop the career that I've been doing for this many years to pursue this. And I can't say whether it's good or bad at this point. We're all going through this experience together and figuring it out. We're in such new territory, and the whole experience of what a digital content creator is something that is, I don't think we can parallel it to anything else in history, in human history. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I definitely have my thoughts on when kids are like, I want to be a YouTuber. I'm like, why? Why do you want to be a YouTuber? And I put it in the same category as when we were kids, we would say, I want to be an actor. It's like, what does that mean? Do you want to learn your craft? No, you want to be famous and, do fun things on film. Yeah. And you kind of don't see the other things besides that. Yeah,
and if you're in a typical Asian family, your parents are like, what? You want to be what? No. You mentioning the whole digital landscape, it wasn't that long ago that YouTube, you couldn't even make money off of it. They didn't even monetize their platform until later on.
Yeah. So. It was I luckily was, and I say luckily because I'm just really grateful for the experiences that I've had. When I went into it, it was not for money. It was not for anything other than spending a few hours per week doing something that was new and enjoyable enough for me to continue doing it.
Right.
And so in a lot of ways, I feel like it's lost that sort of I don't know.
Innocence?
Yeah. I think it's a great word for it. You know, the naivete of like, I don't know where this will go, but you know, it makes me feel good to put it out there.
Yeah.
And then now it's very much like, well, this is out there for a purpose.
Right.
And that purpose is numbers and clout and all this other stuff that I feel like clouds the whole art of it.
Yeah, and they can affect your creativity and what you eventually produce.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, oh, yeah, well, how many views can I get on this?
For sure.
Versus, I just want to make this for fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, that's a pretty cool background history to you come to Smosh Games, YouTube, the YouTube channel, and all that cool stuff. So let's talk about some of the ongoing games news that we had this week. The big one was Telltale is going to be revived as a new company. There's a lot of interesting details about this. So a company called LCG Entertainment purchased the assets and the back catalog rights to some of their licensed properties like Wolf Among Us, Batman, but some of the expired stuff like The Walking Dead, Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, Borderlands, all that stuff is either reverted back to their original copyright holders or they're kind of in a limbo state of whether or not they will come back or not. What do you think of it? Did you play Telltale Games at all?
I played a little bit.
Okay.
I never completed them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an issue of why they weren't successful? Because it was a different model than what we're used to, right? Where instead of the $50, $60 game, it was the $10 per episode, $15 per episode, but it only came out once every 2-3 months.
Yeah, you know, I think in the world of having so many open world and really, really nonlinear type of games, for me, it was slow. And for me, I think I was maybe in the camp of not finding titles that I wanted to immerse myself in that world for that long for, but without the gameplay portion of it. And so I personally didn't, really dive into those. But I can also understand that there are many people who would,
I'm on your boat with, I didn't find a game that I think I could sink my teeth into really just to sit there and play for a while. But I'm glad that this is actually happening though. Like moves are being made because I'm glad. So do they know if they're bringing the original employees back or
some of them? They said they're going to bring some of the workers back at a freelance basis and then hopefully turn them into full time if things go successfully well. I'm one of those people that was into them, but with the caveat that I knew they weren't. I always mention it they weren't really games. They were interactive storytelling. Because that actual game part of it was you could play it with one hand and literally one hand. You just move around, you click,
Yeah.
There wasn't anything happening in terms of gameplay. But I like the stories. I like the dialogue. But I did think the whole having those episodes come out 2-3 months later really hindered them. And also, I think part of the reason why they went down was they had too many of properties at the same time.
Agreed.
Then they couldn't market them. They had a Guardians of the Galaxy game, they had a Batman game, they had a Walking Dead game. So eventually, you just had so much stuff coming out, you just didn't even know. I remember hearing about the Batman game and then realizing, it came out. So I think it's one of those things where they need to go back and retool the way they make the game and the way they market the game.
Yeah, there wasn't much growth from the way the game works from the very beginning to the very end. There just wasn't a lot of evolution and keeping you excited about I wonder what sort of other mechanics are possible with this sort of framework. I know that there's a lot of gripe out there of who has picked up the company, having not too much ties in the gaming industry and, seemingly strangers who are picking up a really, really beloved company. And the way that the company was shut down, it's very, very reminiscent of Defy Media, honestly. It's just an email that went out and it's nope, we're closing our doors tomorrow. You don't have a job and there's no severance, there's no pay, there's no anything. And so in that sense, I really feel for the people who lost their jobs. But I feel like this is like a parallel universe of if Smosh was bought out without any of the talent, and they have a shell of a YouTube channel. It's like, what do you do with it? And it could go one of two ways. Very Telltale like. It could go one or two ways. But it's it could be awesome.
Yeah.
It could be a true revival with people who absolutely are passionate about it, love it, have not had their hands in it before, but maybe they'll take it to new heights. Or it could be a disaster. That has no soul to it, absolutely, because they don't have any real passion for where it could go. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But I think it's really naive to be like, no, it's definitely good or definitely bad at this point.
Yeah, definitely is a wait and see. I watched are you guys familiar with the No Clip YouTube channel?
No.
They do video game documentaries. They're working on they don't make enough on the YouTube channel monetization, so they have a Patreon, and that's basically how they fund their documentary projects. And then they do stuff like they did a whole hour and a half on Half-Life and why Half-Life was, such a game changer in the FPS world. They did one on Telltale Games, and so they interviewed ex-Telltale employees, and they talked about all that stuff about, how the company changed focus and lost focus in marketing and upper management and all that stuff, and how it eventually collapsed. So probably not too far off from with what happened with Defy.
Yeah, I mean, we won't get into execs, but it's like when people who are running a company that don't have their feet on the ground every day and seeing the work that goes into it and the people who are really, really loving what they do, there's a disconnect there for sure. I think one of the concerns is the IP and the lack of it. I know they have Wolf Among Us.
Yes,
and they have
Batman.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, maybe this is a time for them to be able to really focus in on those games. And Wolf Among Us, I know for sure had a huge following.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that series.
Yeah. I think, all in all with Telltale, The Walking Dead for me was something that really hit hard because it feels so visceral, making really tough decisions in that game. And making decisions or not seeing the decisions that happen either in the graphic novels or in the series. So it's I feel like it was a little bit more realistic and having to go one way or another and seeing people, get into terrible situations.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately for them, Skybound, which is, Robert Kirkman's company, basically bought back the rights to it. And then they finished off that series. And that was their most successful title. That kind of launched them into where they started acquiring all these other IPs. And,
right. And it's almost like they grew too big.
Yeah,
right after
too big, too fast. It's a cliched story that happens all the time.
For sure.
And Dennis, I guess one of the notes I saw from the article, he actually said, we will probably keep the concept of episodes the same, but with different pacing.
Yeah.
This is a different world. From a media consumption standpoint, we need to look at how people entertain themselves. I like the idea of binge watching. So I guess they're going to restructure and maybe give it all at one time so to let people
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And even I keep harping on this with the Oculus Quest and Vader Immortal. They dropped the first episode the day of launch, and the second episode they previewed at D23. What was it, last weekend?
Yeah, last weekend. Yeah, it's been it's been a while. You can forget about
the momentum. The momentum for it's everyone loved it. I loved it.
Dope.
And then now you're you almost forget that another episode is coming out. So I mean, they can kind of get away with it because it's Star Wars, but with other properties, less so. All right, this morning, Cyberpunk 2077 had a 15-minute gameplay streamed live, kind of deep diving into a little more of the gameplay styles. They showed off one of the locations, Pacifica. Are you looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077?
Absolutely. I've been hyped on it for a couple of years now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Japanese, so of course I love Cyberpunk anything. But yeah, I have so much faith in CD Projekt Red as just a developer in the sense that they take their time on games. They're not pumping things out all the time just to have a game out there. And so yeah, I'm so excited about it. So much so that I've dived back into playing Witcher 3 again.
Nice. Yeah, and then you have the Witcher Netflix series coming out soon. What date is that?
I don't think they've given an official date. I think they said. Are you sure? I don't think they've given an official date. I think it just said, like,
maybe I was
year.
thinking Dark Crystal because Dark Crystal came out today.
Today.
Yeah. So it's sometime this year though.
Yeah,
I think it's this fall. But yeah, CD Projekt Red. You're talking about that model. It's much like the Rockstar model, right? They get one game, they work on it, and that's all they do. And it could be years and years because Cyberpunk 2077 was like, when did they announce that? That was like a long time ago.
I would say like 3 years ago.
3 or 4 years.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, and it's finally coming out next year.
I can't believe we have a date and that it's so close because honestly, the joke was always Cyberpunk 2077. It'll come out in 2077.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like totally okay with it. I'm like, all right, I'll wait another 5 years for it. No problem. It's going to be worth it. But the fact that it's like April, that's dope.
And I think that's one of those games that's so big that like you're just gonna be sucked away for a long, long time. Dorian? Did you watch the gameplay?
I watched it right before we got in here.
Yeah.
It looked dope. So it kind of reminded me of like you get to actually choose your strategy of how you want to play. So I'm loving that because like the cyber, I might be saying it wrong. Like you can like net run. Or something
the
like
net
that.
runner.
It kind of reminded me of like it has this like that watchdog type of feel, like you can hack things and still like do what you need to do. But if I'm playing, like when I play, I'm going all out brute force.
That's what I'm doing too.
I'm going just give me the guns. Like when he broke down that gun off of the machine and it started going off, I was like, yeah, that's how I'm gonna play. That's my play style.
Tanky boy.
Yeah, I'm going ham like that.
That's what I do in every game that has those paths. I'm like, do I want to do stealth?
No, we're just going ham.
It.
Yeah, just make as strong as possible. Lots of health, lots of armor, and weapon power, weapon fire.
And I like, and it also showed that you don't have to like choose just one class. It can be a hybrid mix of like, oh, you want to upgrade this type of skill and this one. You don't have to like box yourself into one type of play style, which I think it benefits me because sometimes maybe I'm a little chill. Be like, all right, let me do a little stealth, not a lot, just a tad bit. So maybe I want to have those skills enhanced. But most of the time, I think I'll be playing just all out. Let me kill somebody, brute force. Like, no, I don't. I need to make noise. I want to be seen.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of fluid classes, they also have taken away the gender option for create a character. It's going to be no longer male and female. It's just kind of like create your character and you can like mix and match the faces and the body types and all the other accessories that you want to create your own character or whoever he, she.
People are mad about that.
Yeah, I mean, you always have on one side the people that are like super PC. And then you have the people on the other side that are very anti-PC. I'm kind of one of those people in the middle where it's like, okay, it's fine if they want to do that. I don't know if it was like they had to do it, but if they did it, that's fine. And then you have the people who just, I don't know, people get upset at everything nowadays, right?
For sure.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Mario. Go. It's all you.
It's interesting that there's this sensitivity level that it goes to a place where it's like, well, CD Projekt Reds are now social justice warriors for doing this. And I think that would have been the very last place that my mind would go of why this was done. It's like the year is 2077.
Right.
We are far into the future. People are, like, they have cybergenic like arms and legs. They're taking out eyeballs. They're not. They don't. Like there's so much happening in this world that you don't think that people are gonna play around with gender. Like, it's like it blows my mind that we would be so like small to put ourselves in the box of like things would stay the way that they are right now.
Right. That's like literally what I was about to say. It was like if we're in the year 2077, of course, like if you've seen movies, like they have that option, like you can build a body from scratch, customize it as much as you want. Like this 2077, we're going to be so far into the future, you can do literally whatever the hell you want. So it's just like if you're pissed off about this, you need to really sit there and reevaluate your life and just be like, bro.
Yeah.
Why am I mad about the option to give somebody the option to choose whatever they want to play?
It
however
doesn't
they
take, it doesn't take away. It doesn't take away any options from what you could have done before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing.
If anything, it makes it so much more fun.
Yeah.
And it makes it like you can make the character specific to you. So like I wouldn't like if I'm playing online or something, like I wouldn't want to have somebody like have the exact same character as me or like be like this is supposed to be my character, my story. So why would you want it to be so specific? I mean, not you. Why would you want it to be so generic? So I think this is the right move. Like it makes it feel inclusive for everybody, so they have that option.
So let me ask you a side related question. When you guys create characters in these type of games, do you make your character look like you, or do you go a different route?
Now, if there's an option to make the character black, then yes, I'll make the character.
I'm not saying just black. I'm talking about look.
Oh yeah,
like
no, like if
you.
If they like have the option to give like curly hair or afro or something, I think I showed you my Jump Force character.
Mm-hmm.
He can look pretty much like me. If I have the option to make a character look like me, I'll make them look like me. But you don't always get that option.
Yeah.
But if I do get the option, I usually try to make it close to what it looked like. Like if I have an afro option, I'll give it an afro. Like I usually try to make it look like me.
I think it depends for me. If it's a fantasy-based game like Skyrim or something like that, I will just be the largest, dumbest brute. I just want to be the big, like a wall, just walking around. So I would just like to be the biggest thing, and just dumb. If you can like. If there's character traits of like how much like intelligence you have versus how much strength, it's always just 100% strength, no intelligence. But if it's Cyberpunk, it's gonna look like me.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it look like me. It's kind of like GTA. It's like if I'm gonna play someone and be that. I don't know if it's in a world that I can see myself in, as opposed to a complete fantasy world, then I would like for it to look more like me.
Yeah, I think I do both. If they have the option to make it kind of look like me, obviously in a more fantasized version, super big or super strong. But if it doesn't look cool, I'll just go make a character that I just think looks cool. Looks like he would fit into that world. Yeah, he or she. Mass Effect, I remember I played both the male and the female. But I guess in Cyberpunk you don't, there isn't that one. But they do have picking your past. So if you pick a certain like background, it opens up different dialogue options and choices within the game that leads you to different storylines, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, this is so much detail and so much branching storylines and choices that you can make in this game. I'm almost kind of worried that it's going to be overwhelming.
It'll be interesting. I just played the Cyberpunk RPG game.
Okay.
And
the tabletop one?
Yeah, the tabletop one. And it's very much like that. You kind of roll to see what your past is going to be like, what your attributes are, and like what you strive for and what you believe in. If it's anything like that, that's pretty cool. Because it builds who you might be in that world. So if we're all building ourselves in that, it's like in that construct of that world, what sort of past do you have? It's not going to be the same as what we have here. So
yeah. And they teased at the end of the video the Keanu Reeves, Johnny Silverhand stuff. They didn't really go deep into it. I think they just know that that's just the little thing they can get, I guess, more casual fans.
Yeah, just
people who maybe weren't interested in the game and that see that Keanu's in it. They're like, oh, cool.
Oh, the John Wick fans.
Yeah, John Wick, Matrix, they're rebooting.
Kaboom.
Huh?
Kaboom.
Yeah, he's having quite a year this year with, was it Toy Story 4, John Wick 3, right. And his cameo in Always Be My Maybe.
As he played himself.
Yeah.
I thought that was
which
cool.
Which was so good. Yeah, it's the year of Keanu. Yeah. And everyone is so supportive of it, which is so cool. That doesn't happen too often on the internet.
No, and when he came out during the Microsoft press conference, people
I think
lost their
that was the
minds.
loudest cheer from any of the panels we went to. I think the loudest reaction we got.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no one knew he was in the game, and then for him to come out, that was crazy.
It was wild.
You were there?
I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. And it was great because Keanu, when he's not playing a character, and it's just Keanu, who's so kind of like dopey. He just kind of like prances out, and you're like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I don't know what I'm doing here." And it's great. It was just so. It was just really like humbling.
Did you guys see the Corridor Digital's Keanu Reeves? It's a deep fake video.
Mm-mm.
It's a deep fake video of where it's Keanu Reeves stopping this guy from robbing a store, but they make the character like super Keanu Reeves style, where he's like so super nice, like even to the robber.
No, I need to
That's
watch
great.
it.
Yeah.
The only deep fake I've watched is our deep fake you can watch on our social media right now. Of
Tom
Cruise as Iron Man.
Yeah.
We got mixed reactions. It's a good video.
Yeah, it's a good video. I think people were just taking the fact that Tom Cruise was, because he was, rumored to have been in the front running to take that role before Robert Downey Jr.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so
Can you imagine him doing all of his stunts for Iron Man?
that'd be funny. Like
He'd
he's
have-
like
he'd
he's
have
like
to
I'm
build
gonna
his own suit.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, build me a suit that actually flies because
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
Do
it.
it.
and then I'm gonna learn how to fly it. All right, moving on from Cyberpunk 2077. Just quickly, there's a kind of a new Resident Evil project called Project Resistance. There's not too many details. I think they're gonna reveal more at the Tokyo Game Show, but it looks like a 4-player co-op. Because Resident Evil they've done 2-player co-op before, but this one looks, I don't know exactly if the gameplay is going to remain the same or not, or they're going to kind of go more arcadey with this. I'm a person who's played select Resident Evil games here and there, and I know they recently had the Resident Evil 2 remaster that actually I played some of it, and it turned out pretty good. So I'm just wondering, interested that they're doing this instead of either a new Resident Evil or another remaster of an old one. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, who is this for? Because for me, I'm really happy about it because we work on a YouTube channel where we play games together as a group.
Yeah.
And co-op is something that would be very exciting for us. But at the same time, it's like in a world where people have their own consoles, people have their own PCs, everyone has their own rig, and it'll be interesting. I'm not really sure who it's for. Maybe new audiences.
I guess maybe if you're not the type of person who wants to play those type of games by yourself, because Resident Evil has been mainly a solo person game. Maybe you want to play it like Left 4 Dead, or even one of my favorite zombie ones is Dead Island. Like, I don't know if the gameplay is gonna be slowed down a little bit or sped up from the original Resident Evil kind of.
What about
gameplay?
people like me who don't have friends, Dennis? Like, what do you do then?
You can team up online with your, online friends.
Okay, bet. What
Yeah.
if you don't have? All right, I do have online friends, so we're all good with that aspect.
It's not even an issue about friends anymore. It's an issue about time. Like, just finding the select time where you and your friend can be on at the same time and play. Because for me, I play games at home, but it's always like, I've got an hour here. I've got half an hour here. I've got maybe sometimes I'm lucky, I got 2 hours here. But that doesn't mean someone else that you're friends with has that, that time. I mean, much easier when it was back in college when everyone had plenty of free time to play as much games as they wanted. So, all right, moving on to the next one. Oh, this is a game that I was looking forward to and that I started playing. I'm going to do a review of this game, Control, from Remedy Entertainment. I'm not finished with it. I'm about 3-4 hours into it. I think it's like 11 to 12 hour. I'm going to do a review next week. Are you guys familiar with Control?
I haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to play it.
Okay.
I'm also a few hours in.
Oh, you're a few hours in. How are you liking it so far?
It's so mysterious. I love the writing. I'm enthralled because I feel like if I miss anything, I'm just going to miss an integral part of like what is happening. Like I just don't really know. It's so surreal. Things are just beautiful. I'm really liking it so far.
Yeah. Did you ever play Alan Wake?
I didn't.
Okay, so it's from same company, same Sam Lake, who I don't know his exact, but he's one of the leads for the game. So I think he co-created, wrote Alan Wake, and also did that for this game, and it's got a similar feel to it, where I think it was more explained in Alan Wake, but in this one, it's like I liken it to going into a movie, and you just at the beginning of the third act. Mm-hmm. Like that's how it is. 'Cause
Tarantino it.
And it's like, what is going on? Obviously, all the story has already happened. Things are going on. A lot of characters already have their back history, and because like it's even hard to explain. Like you're a character who goes to this Federal Bureau of Control. But you're going there because your brother went missing, like when you were kids, and you've been trying to find this place for a long, long time, and somehow you've finally found it, and you go in there.
It's kind of like a Men in Black building. Like normal people who aren't looking for it can't see it, but if you're looking for it, then it just appears like in the middle of Manhattan or whatever.
Yeah, and then suddenly you're thrust into this director position. It's so weird. You go to this astral plane, but it's totally a lot of fun. Like some people compared some of the powers that she has to like being Jean Grey in X-Men, being able to use telekinesis to move objects. So you can like pick up objects with your mind and throw them at people.
Oh,
yeah. I think of Infamous.
Okay.
Second Son. I love that game.
Okay.
Me too. Okay,
Yeah,
just like that then.
It's reminiscent of that. I don't know if I've like opened up all the combat abilities yet. I have
Neither
a gun.
have I.
I can throw like wall pieces, which is beautiful when you're able to just like crumble things around you and just throw it at people. And then like a kinetic blast sort of thing, which you can kinetic blast anything.
Yeah.
I blasted like 50 like desks. I just went. I think I took probably 15 minutes blasting everything in this one room, and then I opened the door, and then there's another room with all these tables everywhere, and so it was just the like paper and like things just kind of like floating around after you blast them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, because at first, like if you actually break it down, you're like, okay, the gameplay is very smooth. It's very fun. The amount of stuff you can do is kind of limited, right? You just have a gun, which you can change the forms of it, which do different things. You can mod yourself and get better health and whatever. But in essence, it's very similar kind of stuff that you do. But because of the telekinesis, like every single object is destructible. Mm-hmm. You can like pick it up, destroy it, throw it. It's crazy. It reminds me of Half-Life 2 with, I forgot the name of that weapon. The one that, like, you can
gravity
suck
gun.
it. The gravity gun.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, right? Where when I was watching that Half-Life documentary, like, that was not originally be part of the game. The developers were doing that for fun on this, like, look
great.
what we could do. And then they're like, let's put that in the game. It was so much fun. They put it into the game. And then
awesome.
this thing is similar to that, where it's like, oh, I'm just going to pick up a bunch of stuff and just toss it and throw it. Makes your character feel very powerful. But yeah, so far, I have a feeling this might be my game of the year. Yeah, that's how much I like it. I really liked Alan Wake. So I don't know where you guys are for game of the year so far.
Man, I haven't even thought of it this year.
Me neither.
I mean, this year's a little lighter than last year in terms of AAA titles, and then you had like something like Anthem that was disappointing.
Yeah, I need a list.
I mean,
Yeah,
Death Stranding is coming out, but we haven't played it yet.
That's going to be another super surreal one where it's like, what's going on? Every time I see a another trailer for it. I'm like, am I too stupid to understand what's happening?
Nobody knows.
No one-
Nobody knows what that game. We've watched. It's funny because I tell people, it's like they've already released probably like 3 hours of footage. Nobody knows what the story is, the gameplay is, what you're doing.
Yeah. I'm like, this is a game about teaching a man what it feels like to have a baby with him for 9 months. It's about pregnancy. I never understand what it's about yet, but it's intriguing.
Yeah.
Can't wait to play it.
So that game's coming out. Outer Worlds is a possible game of the year for me.
Pokemon Sword and Shield. Once I get a Nintendo Switch, that might be. That'll probably be my game of the year. If we're looking at the list right now, I'm thinking about Apex.
Apex.
I play that like every day.
Okay.
Every day, every morning, every night. That might be my game of the year so far.
Yeah,
If
it's interesting because like the Fortnite Apex games, like it's tough because remember Fortnite was up for a game of the year I think last year.
Was it really?
I think so, and it's just one of those things where it's hard to like put that in the same category as a Red Dead Redemption 2.
For sure.
It's like, yes, it's super fun and it has such a cultural impact, but at the same time, it's like I don't know, it's just different, and that's where I put Apex as well.
I feel it.
So
I don't know. We'll see, but. If I'm putting it out there. I think Pokemon Sword and Shield will be my game of the year. I've been waiting. I just need to get into. I just need to get a Switch. That's the only thing stopping me.
We have a thing.
Hey,
So
Nintendo.
So
Spawn.
So I grew up like Pokemon came after so I have no when I watched that Pokemon movie, no clue.
Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's a cute rabbit.
Yeah. Well, I told everyone many times like. I'm not even kidding. For like, I don't know, 10 years, I thought Pokemon was the name of Pikachu. Like I thought the yellow.
You thought Pikachu, the name was Pokemon.
Yes.
You thought people. Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Come on, Dennis.
I never watched the cartoon. Never played any of the games. Have no clue. The most I've ever interacted with that franchise was watching that movie, which I didn't. I enjoyed that movie. But I just didn't know what the hell was going on.
I think you don't have to know anything about Pokemon to enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, there's creatures walking around.
And they made them really cute, so they did a good job.
Oh, that Bulbasaur.
But you're big into Pokemon, right? No?
I would say I was a very, like, meh sort of player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that the first thing you came out for Smosh was Pokemon, right? Like a Pokemon sketch or something like that?
The sketch was around the fact that Ian and Anthony got really, they went viral for lip syncing the Pokemon song. And that was one of their first viral videos, but it got taken down for
Copyright.
Yeah, for copyright. And I don't even think it was like Pokemon Company that did it, but this revenge song that I was in, they were like, all right, it's us versus Pokemon the company. And so it was just a parody sort of song. But I just played a Japanese person who works at the Pokemon company in Tokyo.
Nice. All right, next up we have, this is a brief one, Marvel's Avengers, I guess some Captain America gameplay footage. It's very, very brief, came out. This game has been like, I don't know, at first like everyone was loving it and then people were hating on the graphics and then now it was interesting because me and him were both at E3 and then going to Comic-Con, being in Hall H, the responses are very different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, you were at the Square Enix.
He was.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just in general, like online, people were like mocking the graphics and, it didn't get the response I think they wanted, but then going to Comic-Con and seeing that response from Hall H, it was a much more positive response.
Yeah.
So this footage, I think, Wendy over here, who works at Collider, she had done the reaction with Roka while we were at E3. And
for the video, for
the first trailer, and I think they had like mixed reactions to it. But she saw this footage and she was like, "Oh, this looks really, really cool." I think a lot of people were hung up on the kind of cinematic graphics that we'd seen, and you didn't get to see as much gameplay footage. When it's the gameplay footage, everything's fine. It's just when they cut to the close-ups and then the people don't look exactly like the way they want them to.
Yeah, I think people are really hung up on like, this isn't the MCU version,
Yep.
so what am I watching? And it's I think it's really exciting that we get a potentially like different stories from different characters of, you know, like the things that they represent are still the same. You know, Captain America is still Captain America. I think it was really ambitious of what they're like promising, where it's like new characters, new skins. As they come out, everyone gets them. You know, like all the characters released. Everyone gets them. Like, if they stick to that, that's really dope as a game goes, because we don't get that anymore, you know, with microtransactions and things like that. So if they stick to that, I'm excited. I mean, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah,
for sure.
We'll
Like
see.
I'm playing regardless, but I thought this footage, it looked great. I'm just questioning is whether that was the footage of like them playing online, like you get to play as him, or is that part of the story? Because in the story that we've seen so far, like he's dead after.
They're gonna bring him back.
Okay, you think they're bringing him back? Okay.
They're not gonna have Captain America in that game. You can't play him.
Okay.
Whether or not that footage is from the campaign
Yeah,
or the
that's what I was-
online play, that's a different story.
You should be able to play as old man
Ooh.
Captain
Old
America.
man Captain
Just
America.
like-
He's got a cane.
Kane, and he, like when he throws a shield, it just like teeters out, and
Yeah.
you have to go pick it up and just like
He
throw it at
throws
him.
records.
Did you see that meme where it was like Captain America frozen in ice 80 years or something like that, and like a picture of him looking young, and then a picture of like him like married with Peggy, and then him old. He's like, this is what 20 years happened to being married.
It's so good.
Yeah. Old man Captain America.
That'd be dope if they like if that was one of the skins. Is
That'd be
like
funny.
he can play as the same, like he still has the same thing, but he's just like old man, like in the suit from the MCU. That'd be dope. I'd be down for
I
that.
feel like Captain America, like, I want to see a parody where it's like he's like too old and like racist for this time, but also too liberal for that time, and he just doesn't
Just
fit
doesn't
anywhere.
know where to go.
Yeah,
Somebody should actually do that. That's funny
like
as
he
hell.
just does not fit in the 40s, and he does not fit in the in
Yeah.
2019 either.
Racist Captain America.
Just like okay for the 40s, but not okay now.
Yeah.
You know.
Do it, please. Somebody do
Poor
that.
guy.
Yeah.
It's been rough for him.
This next one, I don't know if you guys got a chance. I didn't listen to all of it yet, but I listened about half of it. John Carmack of id fame, Doom, Quake, Castle Wolfenstein. He was on the Joe Rogan show because, I mean, Joe Rogan is actually a big. He's not really a big gamer, but he's a big Quake and Doom fan, and he had him on there. And he, you know, Carmack is currently the CTO of Oculus. So he talked about the Oculus Quest. He talked about, starting out at id. He talked about a lot of different technology stuff. Do you guys get to take a listen to it
Yeah.
at all? Okay.
Yeah, I listened to it.
What would you find kind of most fascinating from what he was talking about?
I think it's his perspective on VR was really interesting, and it was towards the end of it, at how VR gets so much flack about, like do people really want this society where everybody's plugged in and is like not interacting with each other and things like that. And he's like, the other side of it is there are so many people in this world who will never be able to interact with certain lifestyles or
Yes.
things. You know, if you're a millionaire or a billionaire, then you know what it's like to walk around on your own private island. You know what it's like to be in, a fast-paced Ferrari like supercar. But there are many people in the world who will never be able to have the means to feel like what that's like. And so he's like, this is a door for people to experience things that they may have never experienced. And I think that's a really good perspective on it, that I think new technology will always have people who will say negative things about it, but there's, I think, more positives than anything.
Yeah, I heard that part as well. Have you played with Oculus Quest yet?
Not Quest. No.
Okay. We have one in the studio, and they have one app. It's not even a game. It's called Wander, and what it does is it takes Google Maps, and it takes the street view, and it turns it into a 3D model. So if you pick an address anywhere in the world, you can go to that spot, and it feels like you're there. I mean, no one's moving, right? They have like the people who are like frozen in action or whatever, but you get the sense and feel of what it feels like to be there.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
love that. I think there's going to be a lot more like experiential things, and I know there's like a lot of like medical companies who are trying to create more experiences so that there's more empathy in the world of like what it's like to be a schizophrenic. You know, you can kind of like get into the mind of what the world looks like for a schizophrenic, just so that you have a little bit more awareness and empathy for somebody who might be going through that, whether it's a family member or stranger or friend. I really, really like to think that there's going to be more practical applications like that. Not just gaming. Gaming is fun.
Gaming is fun. AR will have a lot more practical applications versus gaming. He was crapping on the Magic Leap a little on there. I've tested the Magic Leap. It's not ready. You know what I mean? It's just not AR is just not at that stage. The VR, which the Quest. Have you played with any of the other VR rigs at all?
Yeah, Vive, Oculus.
Okay.
Original Oculus.
The funny thing about the Quest is it's way powered down versus any of those, but it's the game changer one. It's the one that is going to make VR for the masses.
That's cool. That's great.
Because it's not tethered, so you don't need a laptop, you don't need a computer, you don't need the setup, you don't need sensors. You just press the power on just like you would with it makes sense because it actually is like basically a high-powered cell phone. It's just like a cell phone. You turn it on, and the way you create like your play area is so simple. You just point and click. You just draw basically a circle around you, and that's it. And then anytime you pass your play area, it has cameras on the front, and it shows you the real world. So it keeps you from hurting yourself. It's just a very easy to use. Like you probably played on the Quest more than any of the other ones,
yeah,
right?
if I was going to choose like one to like actually buy, it would for sure be the Quest. Like if out of all the ones I've done so far, like that, and like you said, and I think it's probably the cheap.
It's $399.
Yeah.
Well, you can get the Rift S now for $399, the same price, but that means you still need a computer or a laptop, a high-powered computer, a high-powered laptop.
Because it took us like an hour. It took us like an hour and 2 hours to just set up the PSVR.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that was a struggle, but that was fun too. Like I had
the games are fun.
Yeah,
on
the games
PS.
are fun. Like I would if I would use a PSVR as well. But if I like had to specifically buy one, it'd definitely be the Quest, just because of the portability and like you can take it anywhere. Like people will take it out of the office, use it at home, bring it back. Like it just seems way more practical.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the other stuff he touched on was just more about, I guess, technology in general, about how he thinks Moore's law is going to be ending soon. Just the technology has gotten to the point where it's almost to its limit, in that they're not going to be able to like just physically be able to get things faster and better, which is interesting because we've been in this era of computing with the internet and also with all gaming and whatnot. We're so used to like, the next generation, even with consoles, right? Like this generation to the next one, it's going to be so much more awesome. But he's theorizing that eventually we're going to get to the point where like, okay, we can't get past that anymore. Like, when is it going to, like, we know the next generation is going to go 4K, right? The generation after that, they'll probably try and go for 8K.
Yeah.
But what point is it going to stop?
Right. And at what point are we as humans incapable of even seeing a difference?
Yeah.
We're like, I don't think our eyesight's are able to see the difference past 8K. Right, like we just can't process it. So that's when we start cyberpunking ourselves out, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you say that. I remember back in the day when Blu-ray came out, a lot of consumers couldn't tell the difference between Blu-ray and DVD, and so like, so they didn't feel the need to upgrade. Now, like, okay, more people have upgraded, but Blu-ray is still only 1080p. It's just very high resolution 1080p. So it's just funny how all that works. And then now, just like when you look at old consoles, when you used to think like, oh my God, those graphics are so good. And then now you look at me like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe I played on that. So, yeah, definitely, it's an interesting listen for anyone who's...
He's fascinating.
Yeah.
He speaks so well. He's so eloquent.
Yeah.
And I love all the stuff that he was talking about space as well.
Okay.
And it's like, for the first time ever, like there are billionaires who are able to throw their money into building rockets for a little bit cheaper, and you know, having the facility to be able to make mistakes because it's their money, and you know, if that is a way that we are off planet sooner, then you know, like what a cool time to live in.
Make moves.
There's one thing actually he touched on that actually was a bit controversial. Concerning about the gaming industry was he was talking about, because there's so much talk about the working conditions for the game industry, people being overworked, underpaid, you know, the toll it takes on people's psychology. He came from a different mindset. He kind of was saying that he felt like it was okay for people to push themselves because it was something they were passionate about, but he also admitted he's a different type of person, and also his
experience was different because he was the owner of that company as opposed to an employee.
Yes, and so he's never worked for a AAA like studio like EA or one of the other large game companies. He owned his own and pretty much could do what he wanted. So, so I think that because you know a lot of people are, you know, I'm sure all of us have friends that have worked in the game industry on games and work long hours, especially in crunch time when like the game needs to launch, and even to the level of, you know, QA testers. Like they're just sitting there QA testing
for sure
for 14 hours straight.
Yeah, I think it's a level of like who you are within the company, and then also like what your position is. Because Joe asked him a similar question he asked Elon Musk: is how do you find the time? And I know for a fact that Elon is like known for being like the last person to leave. You know, like he expects everyone to work the same number of hours as him, and it's like astronomical number of hours. But the experience is different when it's your company, it's your money, it's all going towards your sort of endeavor
and your vision too.
Yeah,
like even if you're already satisfied with the money, it's like, well, this is my idea. I want to see it come to fruition, so I'm going to put as much time. Where someone else that may be doing a more menial task, they're like, well, I don't want to do this for 14 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
So
it's understandable.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how much kind of backlash he will get for that opinion of his. But at least he kind of preemptively said, look, that's me in my current position.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, all right. Speaking of executives, Ubisoft executive says Steam is unrealistic for developers. Basically saying the model of 70% to the developers and 30% to Steam is unsustainable, and that's why they took their games off of Steam, and why something like the Epic Game Store is much more viable, where it's, I think, 12% to the Epic Game Store and 88% to the developers. What do you guys think about that versus kind of Steam's kind of dominance in the game store world?
I guess I'm like, I don't know like the logistics on like what it takes in terms of like getting a game on Steam, or like the.
It doesn't take much to get a game on Steam.
So like, then why is he saying it's not viable? Like 70, like 30. Why is that not like more like what's the difference between them putting it on Epic to like wouldn't they get more eyes on Steam?
They would.
So wouldn't isn't this like the same thing as like, hey, if we're giving you more like money, like if we're giving you more promotion, shouldn't we like get more like of the percentage? Like it's like the Spider-Man thing. Like Marvel's like
it's so much like that.
It's like if we're like putting in more money, then we should get more back out of it. So I don't know. I'm like kind of. I not against him, but if Steam is giving you more love than any of these other streaming stores, then yeah, I think they have the right to be like, we deserve more of the cut.
Yeah, but then you get in that area, I'll compare it to something else that we're all familiar with, YouTube. YouTube does not pay a lot of money for anyone who actually does it. And they can do that because they have the largest video platform in the world. And so when it comes to getting the most eyeballs, you can go do other deals with other video players for other things and get a lot more CPMs, higher CPMs, but you're never going to get the eyeballs that YouTube gets. And so they are able to cut themselves a much better deal, and that's kind of what Steam is doing.
And are they allowed? So, like, if they went on Steam, would they still be able to go to these other like stores as well? Or
yeah, they don't have it exclusive on Steam,
then.
but they're just saying in general, it just seems like they're not getting a big enough cut from selling it. So,
I mean, 70 seems like a lot, but I don't know. I don't know how much they're putting in terms of work and stuff. Yeah,
it's interesting that it's Ubisoft that's making that who has that position, who has so many games out there.
Yeah.
I can understand if it's a smaller developer who, but I guess a smaller developer would have the eyeballs on it. So that's sort of like the caveat that they get from being on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I also think that the Sony Disney sort of deal is like parallel to this, where it's like, okay, well, you're not getting the cut that you want, but then are you just going to completely
just say
debilitate your audience from seeing it and playing it on the way that is most convenient for all of us? Or are you going to just figure it out? You know, it's interesting. I think the older we get, the more we peel back that curtain of like, who owns what and what sort of deals are going on with different companies and trademarks and all this stuff. And it's like, man, come on, companies, just make it work.
Yeah. They want to make it work so their bottom line grows bigger and they're able to get as much money from you as possible. In this case, it's not about the money from you. It's from
Steam.
From Steam. Valve is like printing money with that's why there's no Half-Life 3. They don't have to make a Half-Life 3. they make so much money off of Steam. Like, it's like, all right, we'll get to that when we want to. And why they have their Valve Index, which is their like, it's like the opposite of the Oculus Quest. It's like, instead of the super consumer-friendly one, it's like, here's this one that is super expensive. It requires a high-end computer. You still need sensor boxes, but it's like the IMAX version of VR.
I just used it this past week.
How was it?
I honestly, it was probably the experience that I was like the program that was being run wasn't like extremely high. It wasn't like, you know, like a AAA sort of like
title.
Yeah. So I couldn't see too much of a difference, to be honest. But at the time of using it, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was like extremely high end.
Yeah, it's I think probably the most high end VR platform right now. Did you use the knuckle controllers at all? The controllers.
I think so.
The new one is like, it's almost like you grab it and it's like
there's like a little orb around it. Like
yeah.
I use
those are the new ones. The old Vive ones, which you can still use with the Index, are just like these big long controllers with rings on them. Apparently, this one has finger tracking, so you can do a lot more cooler stuff. All right, last topic here. Ninja signs Adidas sponsorship deal. I'll be honest with you. So the whole esports thing to me, just because I'm old school, it still boggles my mind that one, people make money off this thing, and not only money, they make a lot of money off of this. So when I hear something like this, like I'm like, it's crazy, because it's like, you know, you're talking about like people like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and all these, and then you have someone who plays games getting this type of sponsorship deal. So to me, I'm like, it's still almost kind of hard to accept. It's great that he's getting money, and then esports and e-gaming is becoming bigger. But I'm still in my mind like a little, mind blown over this type of stuff.
It's definitely mind blowing. I think it's really cool that he's become such a household name, to the point where like my husband's mom has a investment group, and for the first time a few months ago, she's like, all right, can you guys consult us on what e-gaming is? What is this esports? You know, and we're like, it's just gaming. But we're like, I think people who would have never dipped their toes into gaming are now perking their ears up and we're like, whoa, we got to listen. And when somebody like Ninja, who I think is a really, really great like representative of everything that's happening in gaming, it's like, I think it's really cool. Like, he's really transcending a lot of areas that I don't know if anyone else was on track to do. You know, being on the cover of ESPN, going to the ESPYs, you know, like things like this that no one else was gonna do it in this time frame, that I'm really proud that somebody is. And his whole campaign is about the time put in, right? So it's like putting in your 10,000 hours or whatever it is, which I think is a really great like way to have that partnership happen, because it's like, you know, like you said, like the Michael Jordans of the world, like they get good at what they do because they've spent the time doing it. They're not born great, right? Like they put in the hours and the energy. And I think that paralleling that to why Ninja has grown the way he has, it's like, yeah, he's been really, really prominent for the past 2-3 years, maybe. But it's like the past 10 years before that has gotten him to where he is now today. And I think that's a really, really important thing for his audience to know. It's like, this didn't happen overnight.
Right. He's been grinding, like just been putting in those hours. And I think I'm also like, I'm glad Adidas is the one making this move, because it seems like they're, out of all the shoe companies, out of all the brands, they're the ones actually going besides the traditional sports athletes. Because I know just a while back they've made multiple shoes with the entrepreneur named Gary Vaynerchuk. Like he's
Vaynerchuk.
Yeah. So they're making shoes with him. So it seems like they're just.
That was K-Swiss, wasn't it?
Oh no, was it?
Yeah, it was
oh my God, was it K-Swiss?
Yeah,
It was. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
K-Swiss. My bad, but. So,
well, you're saying we're seeing brands reach out.
More brands.
Yeah.
But damn, why did I think it was Adidas? It is a K-Swiss because I bought a pair too.
Yeah.
I'm a fool.
No. But I think you're right, though. I think Adidas has always been kind of like, they're kind of like the Red Bulls of shoes, where I feel like they kind of fall in the fringe, right? They're like, okay, well, what's going around, like not like mainstream, but what else is around on the outskirts? And I think they've had like a really like healthy relationship with like underground hip hop and streetwear and things like that as well, where they keep like a keen eye on what's happening, and not just what's happening like on like what's on NBC. You know, it's like
They're like staying hip with the kids these days.
Yeah.
With the trends.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Red Bull. I mean, Red Bull is, their whole thing is marketing and doing these events and being partnered with things that are not mainstream, you know.
And they're also partnered with Ninja, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think they pay him a good amount of money to have a little Red Bull fridge in the back of his little office or studio or whatever. So, yeah, it's just interesting. It's if I told my parents would like have no clue. First of all, my parents don't even know what I do here. So
Same.
If I told them that someone was getting paid millions of dollars to play video games, they would. First of all, they wouldn't believe me. They think I was lying. That I was trying to like convince them of like that I want to do a career change or something like that. But yeah, it's a whole.
They're like, are they also doctors?
Huh?
Do they play video games and they're doctors? Because
Yeah.
they can understand that.
Yes.
Or lawyer gamers.
Yeah, unless it's like a VR headset that's doing medical things that like correspond to a real medical procedure. I don't think they'd understand that.
That's
so.
funny. My mom's all like really in it.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's very
That's cool.
technologically like very like advanced. She does like edits and stuff.
Oh.
She has 3 Instagram accounts.
Oh, well,
What?
Yeah. One
my mom
personal.
doesn't have. My mom has like one social that I
My
had to set up,
parents
but they're not allowed to follow me or anything.
My
but
parents have none of that. No Twitter, no Facebook, no Instagram, absolutely nothing. They don't look at me or my sister's stuff.
Man.
My mom's just now understanding YouTube. Like I have to send her the links directly. Like whenever I'm in a video or something like that, I send her the podcast or something like that.
So
She doesn't know how to
pure.
look them up. So we're still in that phase of technology right now. My dad gets everything though, but mom, she doesn't know.
That's so
Doesn't know.
interesting. It must be wild. I can't. I really wonder about when we're like their age.
Yeah, and
Like,
some new technology comes out. We're like,
are we going to be lost, or are we going to be like, oh yeah, this is we can flip like in a second, like no problem.
I don't know. I mean, there's already some things that I still don't totally get. Like, you guys probably get, like Snapchat.
I had to teach you how to do an Instagram story.
Huh?
I had to show you how to do an Instagram story a long time ago.
Yeah, because I don't. I guess for me, both Instagram stories and Snapchat don't jive with my beliefs in content, I guess. Like, I don't believe in, like, doing something and then it disappears. Like, I just.
Interesting.
Yeah, like,
That's
for
a good
me,
point.
it's about, like, oh, if I do something, it's got to be worthwhile doing. And therefore, if it's worthwhile doing, it should be available to anyone to see 10, 20 years from now.
Shouldn't be so fleeting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Which is, the whole thing behind Snapchat and Instagram
I don't
stories.
use Snapchat anymore.
But isn't that just Instagram stories, right?
Pretty much, but Instagram story you can like archive and like you can create story highlights. So if you want somebody to see it like after it like fades away, they can go in your profile and click on the highlight and then it would show it for.
I'm afraid I'll like do something really cool for Instagram stories and think that I saved it and then didn't save it.
Just fades
and then
away.
like got like some really cool celebrity that I idolized to do something with me and then it just
It's gone.
disappears forever. And I'm like, damn. Lost my chance.
Moment's gone forever.
Yeah. All right. Before we kind of wrap up this episode, Mari, what are you kind of doing right now? What kind of projects at Smosh are you working on right now?
Yeah, we've got a pretty awesome Q4, of which I can't talk about just yet, but we wrapped on Smosh Summer Games.
Oh, yeah.
And that's our kind of like tent pole, like really like we went big this year just because it's like we got the company back and we had all this like creative freedom to do whatever we want. And so it was apocalyptic themed. That whole playlist is on our channel, and we've got some fun VR stuff coming up as well. So.
See, it's on your channel. That's archived that people can go back and see.
True.
See, I can get with that. What games are you playing right now? Obviously, you're playing.
Personally?
You were playing Control. You said. What else?
I'm playing Control. I'm playing Witcher 3 again. Oh God, it just sucks me in. Playing a lot of that. Yeah, that's what I'm playing right now.
Cool. Dorian, what are you
The
playing?
only thing I've been playing right now because my Xbox messed up.
What happened to your Xbox?
Dude,
First, you got a PS4
I know,
that
it
messed
wasn't-
up, and now.
I don't know what happened after like a minute. Like it was just I had to do a hard reboot and re-download like a hard restore.
Xbox, sponsor him.
They already-
and
Yeah,
Nintendo.
They already got him one.
So now I restarted, like got all my games back. I've just been playing Apex, trying to because I missed like they had like an iron challenge, like you had to like complete a shit ton of different challenges. So I've been trying to power my way through that and defeat all of those challenges. My goal is now to just like.
Did you buy the season 2?
Nope, I'm
Battle
not.
Pass?
Nope,
Okay.
I'm not wasting any more money
Okay.
on anything else. But yeah, that's just what I've been doing lately. And I need to take my PS4 back because I need to get back on my Overwatch grind.
Okay. They don't have Overwatch on Xbox?
No, but I got to play it on PS4. That's like my bread and butter is PS4 with Overwatch. When I get my Soldier 76, nobody can touch me.
Okay.
I can't play it on Xbox. PS4 Overwatch, ride or die.
All right.
That's the only game I'll play. That's the only game I'll play on PS4 and like the PS4
Well, the
exclusive.
exclusives, Spider-Man.
Yeah, but everything else Team Xbox.
Cool.
And until I get a Nintendo Switch,
Then you'll be Team
you wanna
Nintendo Switch.
sponsor me.
You gotta
send
get
me-
that light.
Are you
Nintendo light.
No, I want. Do you think I should get the Lite?
I don't know. I haven't touched it yet.
I want to get the
If you want to play on the TV, I mean, you got to get the regular one.
Yeah, I'll get both. Send them both, Nintendo.
Let's go,
if you're
Nintendo.
watching.
All right, cool. I'm playing Control, like I mentioned before, doing a lot of VR stuff. I'll mention again, we're almost finished with the Twin Peaks VR game. Getting close.
Ooh, I'm going to dive into Man of Medan next week.
Nice.
That'll be fun.
Nice. But yeah, I've been playing that Red Matter game. They ported over to the Oculus Quest. That's a lot of fun. I love those kind of puzzle escape room style type of games. And that's about it. I'll have a Control review next week. Mari, where can people find you online?
You can find me on social media at Atomic Mari, Mari, or on Smosh Games and Smosh.
Cool. Dorian?
You guys know you can find me Twitter, Dorian Parks and Rec, because Parks and Rec is better than The Office, and you can find me on Instagram at Dorian Parks.
It's not true. Not true. You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, or Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Collider Games, and follow us on Twitter at Collider Gaming. Also, subscribe to our podcast feed. That's a Collider Factory podcast feed every week for this Collider Games podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.